There we go. Welcome to Yield Today with Down Candland. I'm here with Cathy Nesbitt. She has been running her company, Cathy's Composters and Laughter Yoga for a long time. Just does so much good with that. And just really excited to have her on the show today, hear from her story and laugh with her. So thanks for coming on, Cathy.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why do you think laughter is so important in our world today?
Yeah, I mean, it was always important. Everybody's heard laughter's the best medicine. It really is. It's not just an expression. Just during this cuckoo time, people will say, how can I laugh? There's so much going on. It's, that we're still in this pandemic and there's war and, feast and famine, all these things going on. But we must. So laughter yoga is not about fancy pants or poses. It's intentional laughter exercises. It was started in 1995 by a medical doctor, Dr. Madan Kataria, and his goal is world peace. And it's so important. I know we'll talk about my worm mission, my 20 years selling worms by the pound. So the laughter is so important because when we're having a mental health crisis or we're not feeling well, we can't really care about anything else. We can't wonder, hey, is the neighbor doing okay? I wonder how, what's going on. Oh, I should care more about the planet. You can't because you're just struggling yourself. Like if you're in a depression, you're looking down. You're literally looking down.
Yes.
So we need it.
Yeah, it's so true. Like what we do with our motion, like lately I've been getting back into running, and for me, it's just something that really has always affected my brain in a way that nothing else affects it that way. I mean, walking is really great too, but there's just a euphoria and just a wonderful, it's your dose. It's the dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, it's all that good stuff comes when we are pushing ourselves and getting ourselves out there, whatever that might look like. It's so vital.
Yeah, laughter is a cardiovascular workout. So whatever you're doing, running, dancing, going to the gym, riding your bike, whatever it is, whatever you want to do that makes you feel good, because it's moving our lymph, right? We have a heart to pump our blood. We have another fluid, lymphatic fluid, and it only moves when we move. And when we're not moving, it pools. That's why it kind of gets stagnant. Then we get tired and it's like, oh, I'm so tired. When you're feeling tired, again, it's counterintuitive, but get up, do some jumping jacks, go for a jog, a little walk around the block, even go out on your balcony or whatever, just move. We are a stagnant society, and during this past 2 years we've been sitting more than ever, right? We were locked in our houses, we couldn't even go out. So what are we doing? We're binge watching stuff, and we're on the computer, on social, like getting sadder, right? I mean, we talked offline about having your technology, and when you're on your technology, you may be watching something funny, but you have the physiology of depression because your neck is looking down. So although you may be looking at something funny, you're sending a mixed message to your brain. And it's all about energy, and we are energy. And we know that because if you've ever walked into a room, and somebody's in a bad way, it's like, oh, who's in a, who just got fired or whatever. Or the opposite, somebody's euphoric. Oh, so we're energy. So as a podcast host, or for me as a speaker, doing a workshop, anything, whenever you have to present, it's important to get in a good frame, because that transmits even through online media.
It's true. It's true. And there's this crazy thought that all motivation is generally a desire to change our state. We don't want to smoke the cigarette. I don't smoke. That's a terrible example, but it's from James Clear's book. You don't want to smoke the cigarette. You want the effect that's going to provide the peace of mind, the stress relief, and your body's remembers hey, there was that one time that we smoked, and didn't that help us so much relieve stress? And it's there's this recording that happened, And it's crazy because now you look at like a lot of social media and movies and stuff, all these jump cuts and TV shows and everything, they are designed to get us really hooked on them. And you're like, wow, didn't that help me that one time? And of course, it can be really good, but it can also completely throw a lot of our dreams and stuff out the window. So we can't really do much with it because we've already given so much of our time. We all have 24 hours in the day, but it's like, well, I'm going to be watching, this show from, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock after I get back from work. So I don't have time to work on this thing that I've always wanted to work on. I'm sorry. And it is crazy just how they're designed from the ground up these days to do that.
Oh, they're designed to keep us hooked. And I would really encourage people, if they haven't already watched it, to watch social is
Dilemma,
Social Dilemma.
the
Yes.
social dilemma. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to get a glimpse. I mean, they talk about what they do. Just so we can be mindful. There is a place for all of these things. I use social all the time for my business.
That's
That I
true.
connect a lot for business, and my social media feed happens to be flooded with positive healing summits. I mean, I mean, people talk about, oh, all this negativity on social. I don't experience that. I mean, I really don't. And I think, I used to be so naive. I probably still am, but I used to think if I Googled like worm composting, then I would get a search. And if you searched it, you would get the same search. I really believed that whatever we searched, we would all get the same results, but that's not possible. And that's not how it works. Which is why it's so divisive right now, because our searches are so exclusive that everyone believes what we believe, and they don't even know what we know because we're in a tunnel of belief.
Yeah, a lot of it is to continuously refuel that cognitive bias, right? Whatever kept us going in that direction before, we know, like, the devices and the technology knows that if we get out of that, then maybe we will spend way less time, and then they're not able to make money with for ads and all this other stuff. So it's very, very true how that does lead to like changing how much money people make. And I was thinking about it, is like one of my friends who started a YouTube channel makes a lot of money from it now. I did a YouTube workshop in college to help students build YouTube channels, and I don't take credit for him, but I think it helped a tiny bit at least. And a lot of it is that he focused so hard and got passionate about this thing, and now he is making money from other people's attention, because attention is like one of the most valuable currencies, and he's helping them too, but that's where he's making his money, is other people's attention. So it is crazy, because there's that quote that if you're not, like, if it's a free product, then you yourself are the product, more or less. And
Mm.
it's an interesting way to look at it. And we just need to remember that we're constantly being sold on different things, and overall we have to be sold on ourselves and on our dreams, or otherwise maybe someday we won't keep it going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I have to say this, that I'm so happy you're doing this podcast, because the future is hopeful. I really think that you sound so kind of grounded. You sound wiser than your age. I'm so impressed by you. Thank you for helping to like just share your story with other people. I'd listened to your one of your recent podcasts about college and being the glory days. And it's ironic because people don't realize that is the glory days. You have very little like stress, and you don't have the weight of the world yet on your shoulders. I mean, you do, it's coming, because it's not far away. It's kind of a brief moment that's like no other in your life. It's fascinating.
Yeah, one little thought that's come to my mind that's helped me with that of valuing time, because there's the quote that if you love life, love time, that's what life is made of, is that every single moment of my life and every day is just as precious as any other day. And maybe that's not 100% true in some cases, but I like to think of it that way, is like, there's no day that's not like designed. This day is going to be completely unproductive. You're going to sleep in, you're going to binge Netflix, you're going to do all this stuff you don't want to do. There's no day in my life in the future or even in the past, that was like predestined for that to happen. No, that was never ever going to happen. But if we don't have a very clear idea of where we're going to go, I mean, there's the quote, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So like, if we don't have a very clear understanding of what we're going to do that day, or something to ground us, like the laughter yoga every week, that is what I'm going to do that day. And that will funnel into other stuff throughout the day. If you don't have something like that, you are going to fall for something, because we need to be on our guard. We have to be our own best friend and stuff. And, a quick little analogy for you. I was talking about this with my cousin and my brother. It's like, it's kind of like being a king. If you're the king or queen of your area and somebody's like, hey, we have this cool Twitter post we wanted to share with you. Oh yeah, bring it on. I love Twitter. It's like, Twitter brings all this good stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, where did the day go? Where was the decisions I was going to make? When was the meeting with the Archduke? When was my bath? When was all this stuff I was excited to do? You have to be so careful with that time.
You have to be so careful, and it's fine to while away a bit of time, but yeah, be mindful, folks, be mindful. Yeah. And do what you want to do. It's interesting. When I was 27, my husband and I, we just sold everything. We didn't have much. We had nothing, but we sold it. That's funny. That's true. And we traveled for 13 months in Africa and Asia.
No way.
Yeah, we did. And this is 89, 90. So this is a long, long time ago. Yes, if anyone's listening and want to do the math, I'm going to be 60 this year. Yeah. And so it was before cell phones, before Facebook, before even digital camera. So, at our going away party, my brother-in-law bought us or had everyone bring a roll of film. Do you know what a roll of film like? Okay, for a 35 miller. Okay. Yeah, and we took, I think 27 rolls of film or something. I can't remember, a whole lot of, but you're cautious about how many pictures you take because you're paying for every picture. And so and you don't get to see it. We didn't get to see our pictures for a year till we got back and got them, so, and people say, oh, I want to go traveling. I want to travel. Okay, good. Do you have a passport? Because you need a passport if you're going to go traveling, right? Oh, I want to get one of those cars. Okay, good. Do you have a driver's license? Oh no, I don't have my license yet. Well, you can't drive that car then, right? Just because people say all kinds of stuff. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do all these things, and then they're just like, don't do any steps. You really need to take some steps if you really want to go to live in Costa Rica for a couple of months. Then start planning, start doing some research on Costa Rica. What's the currency there? What do I need when I go there? Do I need any shots? I really think that it's important that people take action. I know you're an action taker, and I love that. Because people do while away the time. And they just again, looking at the highlight reel of somebody else and just feeling bad. Wow, look at them. I wish that was my life. Well, get off your butt.
Yeah. We'll have to dive more into your business and stuff of that nature. But it made me think of in TV shows, with developing relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, or friendships or other things. It does take time, you don't, and it wouldn't be as beautiful if Harry and Ginny from Harry Potter, if that hadn't just perfectly happened, I don't know, it took time. And there was clear, she was dating other guys for a little bit after Harry was kind of finding himself and had kind of let himself go a little bit and just kind of focusing on himself. And then when she's on the same Quidditch team and everything worked out and he saw her differently, I mean, it just made it so much more of a beautiful story. And we all are here to write a beautiful story. We all hold the pen, and so we get to choose what we write, and that's why I feel like a lot of the time we need to just journal. I've been journaling, and journaling really helps. But, just having that mindset is I get to write these things and it takes time, but it is going to be beautiful. That's why we're all here, is to write a beautiful story and to impact other stories. And there might be some people we get to be side characters or play a bigger role, and we don't really know sometimes. That's why we have to go and, like you said, just get off your bum and do something, because if you don't do something, then there's a guarantee you're not going to really be in that person's life much.
Yes, if you do something, something might happen. If you do nothing, nothing's going to happen. I love that example of the Harry Potter example. That, that's yeah, I've been married for a long time. I was going to say how many years, but I can't remember. 30 something years, a long time. Because it's not important, right? I mean, we're in this loving relationship. Was it always like, yes, it always was. Just at times it's like, man, we could end here, or we could work on this. Right. And I think today people are, whenever it gets uncomfortable, people are just, they bail. I'm just like, oh, no, I didn't sign up for this. No, you didn't, but it's a partnership, and that's in business, marriages, that people are just so quick, or relationships in general. Yeah, I just find that people are so quick to dismiss things, and rather than work through the challenges. If it was all rosy, it would be like Disney or Hollywood or something. No, they have their challenges too. you
Yeah.
know? Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes we have no idea of. I remember this LinkedIn post I saw a while ago about Disney, that they do tons and tons and tons of stuff to get rid of the mosquitoes around different things. So when you're walking around, that there's not mosquitoes. Maybe it wasn't mosquitoes. It's one of those things that they do all of this work to, so you can have the best experience possible when it comes to like relationships and stuff. I mean, might look really fantastic and amazing and perfect, like there's no work that happens from one person's point of view, when in reality that person is working really late and doing a ton of work so that their spouse can try to start a business or whatever.
Mm.
And there's all of this stuff going on. So yeah.
We have no idea, I mean, people look at me because, I mean, I've had my worm business for 20 years. I've over 75,000 students have seen my presentation. I've talked on a lot of stages. I've traveled, all of these things. So I look like, wow, yeah, oh, easy for her. It wasn't always this way. It was a challenge at the beginning. You're always going to be tested. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because you could easily just bail. I mean, there was many times when I thought, oh my gosh, I could just get a job. I mean, it's harder today to get something that's meaningful, but that's why being an entrepreneur, I think that's the way of the future. I think, starting something that really makes your heart sing, something that maybe makes a difference. It doesn't have to solve world hunger or world peace or any big thing. It can just be a little cog, like everything needs to be done. Even I love the example, and I'm not sure if it was while we were talking now or previous, about that person that you saw walk past that was so sad. Like, you just thought, oh my gosh, that person's so sad, and you went and spoke with them. It's like those little things, we have no idea the impact that we have, and we are social creatures. We do need that connection. We do want someone to say, hey, I see you there.
Yeah, I was just doing some studying and he walks by super slowly. And I'm like, I know it. That guy's depressed 100%. And he had recently gotten hit by a car. He was scootering around and this girl hit him with the car, not super fast, but enough that he had to go to the hospital and he had to get it looked at. And it was like $5,000 in hospital. And he's an international student. So he didn't have that kind of money. And he was just, all of a sudden, he was so saddened by things. He's like, you've just given me, some hope. Like, you've reached out to me, you've helped me out, so there's no value you can put on that. It's priceless.
And I think we've all had those experiences, maybe not exactly that, but where somebody has, reached out or given us a hand up, or, yeah. And it's important, I think, to remember those things. That's something that I do in my business, is really share my knowledge. I share my passion. I really want to help other people see that there's another way. If you're struggling right now, know that that's just right now. It's temporary. Everything's fluid. That we're ebbing and flowing, And we have these challenges. Like, imagine if everything was rosy, like Stepford Wives or whatever. I don't know if you saw that movie, but
No.
where they're all perfect. They all like everything's fine. Everybody, I don't know. It's just ridiculous society, right? It's not like that. It's like like everything's fine. Everything's fine. It isn't, right? Life is we get these challenges so that we can appreciate the rosy times.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked at great length about everything and it's been great. Let's dive more into the worm business. 2002. I was really young back then. What kind of was going on in your mind back in 2002?
Well, we survived the turning over the millennium. Everything was going to end and from going to 2000. It didn't. Yeah, so in 2002, I'm located just north of Toronto in Canada, Ontario, just north of, so Toronto is the largest city in Canada, and our landfill closed in 2002. And we started to export garbage to the US. Although Canada's second largest country, we couldn't find a spot to put a new landfill. And yeah, 1,000 trucks a week, 1,000 trucks a week. Wow. So it was just like, oh my gosh, can you imagine like the cost to the planet, like the wear and tear on the roads, the oxygen, like just the whole thing is cuckoo. And then, the trucks idling while they're waiting to clear customs. No, that's just not right. And the money, right? I mean, government treats our money like it's an infinite pool of money, because it is for them, because we keep putting in. But it isn't, right? It is not. And if it was properly managed, they could do better things. And I think exporting our garbage was really, really an embarrassment to our country. It was just shocking. And shocking for the American people too. Like, Michigan's slogan is Great Lakes State. Great Lakes, meaning water. So when that garbage leaches out of the, artificial liner that they've put in the landfill that they say will hold for, a few years, it's guaranteed to not leak for 5 years. Oh, good. Then what? Now what do we do? Actually, I heard a thing in Canada. They wanted to put a landfill. We'll go back to that, but they wanted to put a landfill on one of the freshest aquifers, like in the planet. Like, this is one of the world's freshest water. And I heard the warden of that municipality. I mean, I almost drove off the road when he said, well, he said the liner had a 2-year guarantee. And then he said, anyway, if the water gets contaminated, we can just add chemicals. It was just like,
No.
oh, what? I almost drove off the road. I thought I was listening to a comedy show, like a bad comedy show, but one of those spoof shows. This was for real. A government person who knows nothing about science and keeping the water clean. Anyway, never mind. So I was like, I have a solution, right? So back to Toronto, 6 million people, half live in condos, townhouses, without space to do outdoor composting. Not that everybody that lives in a house does composting, and I get that. That's another whole episode. But I thought, at least for those folks, I have a solution, because what I'm offering is indoor composting with worms. So it's actually perfect for urban dwellers, right? Where raccoons may be a problem if you're composting outside, rats and rodents and whatever may be a problem outside, and also for cottage country, where there may be bears or mountain lions or coyotes or something that you don't want to attract to your backyard, who may be attracted by the food waste. So this is indoor composting with the worms. And then I started my business thinking, this is great. Wow, I'm gonna save the world, because we won't be exporting all this garbage and all of this stuff. And then I realized, wow, people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. And they didn't necessarily want worms in the house. And that's when I started to do school workshops. Actually, when I realized, wow, people don't want what I have.
So you got your first customer in the first couple months around Earth Day, if I got that right.
Earth Day, I had 4 customers. Earth Day
There we go.
2002. Oh yeah, 2002. Oh, it was so exciting. And I met this woman. She was 80. She was turning 80 that year. And she was getting a worm bin, and she had so much energy. She did yoga, and she was a nut farmer when she worked. Like, she grew nuts. And she took me into her solarium, and she said, come and see, I'm growing watercress. And she said, I'm like a bee. I come and I pollinate my plants every day. And I'm doing this. I'm like, because she would wisp the pollen like she was a bee. And I was like, I came home and I said to my husband, I know what I'm going to be like when I'm 80. And you don't, by the way, folks that are listening, you don't become a happy older person unless you're a happy younger person, right? You don't all
Yeah.
of a sudden, become joyful when you move into the home. No, it's a lifelong journey, and it's a decision. That's where laughter again comes in, right? It helps us deal with those challenging times when we're getting stressed. We're like, why did this happen, or what's going on? And because when we're stressed, we're not breathing properly, and we go into fight, flight, or freeze, right? Blood, lymph, oxygen leaves our brain. We don't need our thinker. We need to get out of stress. We need to escape from the saber-toothed tiger, right? We need to fight, or we need to flight at that time. We need to get out of stress, so we don't need to think. So laughter forces us. We're like, ha, 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 exhaling. We have to eventually go and take a nice deep breath in, which then oxygenates our brain. So our brain needs 25% more oxygen than the rest of our body as an operating principle. When we're stressed, our body's not getting what it needs. For sure, our brain isn't. Ever lost your keys, phone, glasses, and you're like flapping around? You're like, I gotta go. Yeah, right? You're never finding that whatever you're looking for in that state, because your brain is literally being deprived of oxygen. Cool.
Oh, because you're breathing so little, right?
Because you're just like,
Yeah,
you're
you're
in
just, yeah.
stress.
I felt that so much at some of the tougher parts of college. I'd get to the
Mm.
assignment or something like, how much have I actually breathed today? Like, not very much, honestly. In this past week, there was this one day I did like 2 straight hours of different meditations, like Tony Robbins and all these other ones. And I'm like, this is really good. Like, this is really good. Like, why haven't like, I've done meditation off and on, but like
Mm.
having it really be like a very conscious, deliberate practice, I mean, just giving your brain that space it needs to live and stuff. I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, because I've told it to my sister. She's younger than me. It's like, the same brain you're using now, it's the brain you're using when you're like 80. You're not going to get another brain. So we need
Yeah.
to treat very well the one we have, as far as like what we like come into it, what we put out. I mean, all of that. I mean, it makes such an impact.
I love that. I'm using that. That's fantastic. That's the truth. We can fortify our brain by breathing deep, by laughing, by having good thoughts, right? Flooding it with, because when we're under stress, we're secreting cortisol. Cortisol is careening through our whole body, including our brain, right? Our brain gets washed in this cortisol gucky fluid, versus when we're laughing. I mean, I think you mentioned about smoking. Was that now? Yes.
Well, I think we talked about that. We talked about it at some point. Maybe it was earlier in the conversation.
But people, they drink, they do drugs, eat certain things, sex, whatever they're doing, for those hits, those dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. We do those things. Imagine if you could just laugh and get the same effect. Oh, you can, but you have to decide, right? So what's the difference between watching, like going to a comedy club, or going to laughter yoga? So there's no difference to your brain in real or simulated laughter. The challenge is the duration. When you go to a comedy club, or someone tells it you're watching a funny show, you can only laugh for a little bit. Otherwise, you're going to miss the next line. And the people around you will be annoyed. you're going to get kicked out of the comedy club because you're too disruptive. And it's funny. I find that really funny. So the more you laugh, and the more you affect the people around you. You may lose people, by the way, because sometimes people want to stay stuck in that low vibration, negative turnstile.
It's comfortable.
It's
so
known.
Comfortable. Yeah.
Oh, it's comfortable, all right. And you think that's bad? Oh my gosh, you should hear how my day was. How many conversations like that have you had? Don't do it, folks. Get into, oh, you want to hear how good my day was? Here's what happened to me. Wow, this great thing. That's the people. I want to hang around with people that lift me up, that celebrate my wins, and I celebrate their wins, and we lift each other rather than going, nope. Back to smoking, we keep on going to smoking. Smoking, if you smoke, I mean, I know people don't smoke anymore, but
I've never smoked.
Right. Yeah.
Never will.
If you do smoke though, and your friends smoke, your friends don't want you to quit smoking. So we'll say smoking, but whatever, vaping or whatever it is that you're gaming or whatever it is that you're doing that you want to quit. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna quit this, I'm gonna stop. I don't want to do this anymore. Your friends will be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, you want to go for a smoke? Right. Remember last time? And that the reason is because if you quit smoking or you quit whatever it is, how's that going to look on them? Now they got to do something. Now their people are going to be nattering, oh, Joe quit, so you should quit.
Yeah,
I'm not Joe.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier at some point, was like there's the Google searches and like how Google will give you different searches based on like your bias, like your cognitive bias. It wants to keep that cognitive bias going. What does this person generally consume? What are they into? Let's give them something like that because they'll consume it, which will give us more money, which will, pay for ads, do all this other stuff. And it's easy to get in this loop. I mean, Atomic Habits by James Clear is one I talk about a lot because it definitely helped me a ton of just understanding, like to get to every reward and to every action, there's a cue and there's a craving that happens beforehand. And so like with the brain, it's constantly trying to come up with shortcuts to understand better. How can I get this result? And so if the idea is reduce stress, some people do that with smoking. And yes, even with like sex and with all this other stuff. And it's so bad because there's just all kinds of problems that leads to. But it's just like there needs to be a very clear understanding and a very clear intention. Like we get to choose what we program into our brains. And for me, like a lot of it, it's like, well, I don't need to look beyond what has worked in the past with a lot of things. Like books have always helped me. Like if I want to feel better, if I want to understand things better, if I want to get some good ideas, like reading books works really well for that. Watching YouTube all day long, I've done that before. Generally, it doesn't lead to the impact and the thing that I want. But if we're not careful, we can let these super addictive behaviors or substances to cloud our best potential parts of ourselves. I mean, think of somebody that really loves music and ends up just never really pursuing music. And so they just end up going down all kinds of rabbit holes and they don't really get anywhere. And it's this crazy phenomenon of you've done pretty much nothing, but your brain has ran all over the place, is completely exhausted, and you've accomplished nearly nothing. If not, you're farther behind than even before when you started. And so we talked about earlier about just getting started. You have to get yourself out of that state or you might not move. I mean, if you think of yourself, you're in, I'm in Utah right now, you're in Canada. If I never move from Utah, I'm going to stay in Utah, but I plan on moving from Utah because I want to go to other places, so there has to be action.
There has to be action, and it's never too late. I mean, the thing is that people, every day is a new day. It's not just an expression, it really is. And it is a new opportunity to do something different that day, because you're right, the brain is looking for shortcuts. So it gets in that rut, and then it's like, oh, you talked about comfort with the negative. Like, that's what we know. We know the negative. We're like, oh yeah, and there we go, down we go the rabbit hole, and we talk about things. We talk about the negative stories, because those are the things that media covers. Like in the paper, you read the paper, it's negative. You watch the news, you listen to the radio, it's all negative stories, because in the news, in the media, they say if it bleeds, it leads. That doesn't sound very hopeful. Right? So yeah, being aware of our actions is crucial, and taking action, taking one step in front of the other, like even one step and then another step. Oh, look, yeah. And most people, or many people, are living, like a supporting role in their life rather than the lead. Like, take the lead. What do you want? Don't live for somebody else.
Yeah, there's no point in just constantly observing someone else's life and wishing it was your own. That's something I've personally struggled with recently. Is I'll look at some people that started podcasting around the same time as me, or things of that nature. And it's like, if I'd just been more committed and just whatever, like, I would be living a completely different life. And I mean, life is all about learning, and just getting that understanding. And there's different lessons I've learned, some poignantly more than others, but I'm thankful I've never, like, I was blessed to live in a family with two very loving parents, never had smoked in their lives, never, from a church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that teaches, like, don't do this stuff. And so, that has helped me a lot. I haven't had to learn some of those lessons the hard way, and it really does throw you off, like, really bad if you're not, vigilant. I mean, I think we talked about it earlier of, like, you need to be careful of what you let into your kingdom. Like, if you're a king and you're approving things to come in, like Twitter posts or whatever, it's easy to just constantly let things through, and then you're not actually doing other stuff in your castle. Like, what if you have a pool in your castle, you don't actually swim in it? It's like a tragedy. Absolute tragedy. I mean, I lived at different apartment complexes, but in BYU, Idaho, and some of them were super nice, but I didn't always do all the stuff. So it's like I didn't even have it. There's like the quote that if you don't use the thing that you have, it's like you don't even have it. Like, if you can read, but you can't even read, like, you're no better off than somebody who never reads anything. So you have to be willing to take action on these things. And it blows my mind how little some people can have, and they get so much done. And with the story I've been telling myself, a lot of these people, it's like, well, they had better technology or whatever than I did. That's not true. Some of these people, they had terrible technology that we could barely even imagine. And that's what they started with. And they kept going. It's just being willing to keep moving forward from that starting point. And that's what we have to do. Is like, whatever we're starting with, level 1 or level 0. I mean, every video game will teach you, and I love video games. It's like, you start where you're at, but that's not where you're going to end. There's all this journey, there's all these stories that are going to happen, all these adventures you're going to have, and you're going to learn and you grow, and you're going to progress as your character grows. But yeah, you're not going to stay at level 1. That'd be so boring. And I feel like it's tempting, though, to stay in that comfortable spot. I mean, there's the obvious Newton's law: an object at rest tends to remain at rest unless it's acted on by something else, and I think we talked about earlier too, is like, if the pain of action is so little, or if, like, the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of actually changing, if that doesn't happen, I'm not going to do anything. So you have to do something.
You have to do something. Yeah, do something. Take action. But you know what I wanted to say, what came to me when you were talking was that we need to stop comparing with other people. Like wherever you are, it's okay. That's your journey, not the other person's. You know, we don't know what other people have been through, and sometimes we just get stalled, and that's okay. We can just restart again. You know, I as an entrepreneur, you sometimes wear like a zillion hats. And it's okay to ask for help. I think that's one of the flaws that people have sometimes, is not asking for help when they need it. And I'm not necessarily just being an entrepreneur, just in life in general. If you're having a mental crisis, reach out, because it's temporary. It's going to pass, but you need someone to help you, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot, and it's been a really good time. And I know we could have talked more about your business and stuff, but kind of break it down real quick. What have some of the biggest lessons you've learned from your business, and how can people get in touch with you?
One of the biggest lessons, if somebody's thinking about starting a business, um, make sure you're passionate about it. Start something that you want to do, rather than like, oh, I can make so much money doing that. Rather than chasing the money, chase the dream, because the dream will keep you fulfilled. Like, here I am 20 years, I still love worms. I still love doing my workshops. I get filled up when I educate about what I'm doing. And I think that's a sure sign that I'm on purpose. And that's a great test for other people. They can find me, probably my worm website is the best place. It's got all my offerings are there. It's cathyscomposters.com, Cathy with a C. Yeah, and I'm on social too. Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn.
That's cool. Have you ever thought of starting a podcast, Cathy?
You know, I have not. I'm not really tech savvy, and I have the attention span of a gnat. Um, so I make a great guest, I think.
Yes, you do.
Thank you. So I've, been a guest on many podcasts, and that's the trip I've chosen.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, you're definitely inspiring to talk to. Definitely a real light, and I really appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely have you on again, and we'll have links to everything that we talked about in the show notes. But thank you so much for coming on, Cathy.
I loved it. I don't even care that we didn't talk much about business. I think these conversations are important for people listening to hear something that will help them move them forward and have a wonderful, a more inspired life, because it's there for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I thought that went really well. Like, I'm so sorry we didn't record the first part. I was like, I can't believe that happened. But I felt like that second take was still really good, and it was good. It was good.
It's funny, we kept saying, "Oh, did we talk about that?" It'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see what you put together.
Yeah. I'll have probably to do a little bit of additional editing. Something I've done in the past is I'll start recording, a little bit earlier if if the person's okay with it. And then if we say something cool, like before the episode even starts or after, then you can make that as like additional content for a YouTube channel or something like that. So I've done that a couple times, but yeah, I feel like you just have so much value, and we could keep talking, but I'll just have to have you on again in the next before the end of the year, if that's okay
I'd love
with
it.
you.
Yeah,
And
I
then
would
we'll
love it.
just follow up, update, and it'll be good.
Yeah, wonderful.
I'll try to get this out in the next couple weeks. I'm trying to just go ham and just get a bunch of interviews done so I can relax for the next couple months. Cause
Yeah.
I've been really pushing myself, Cathy. Like, I need to make money with this before I get married. I have this wonderful girlfriend I met last semester,
Yay.
and then it just kind of like, she's in New Mexico. She's still going to school. So now we're just kind of in the friend zone again. And so it's like, yeah, I need to like figure this out, but I've been beating myself up. Like, I wanted to appear on
Stop it.
I wanted to go on so many podcasts at this point. I've only appeared on like 5 or 6. I have a book that I wrote, but I didn't quite finish it. And so I have been beating myself up about not finishing that. So there's like, yeah. So, but just taking some action. I don't know, just talking with you has made me feel a lot better. So I appreciate all you said and
Laughter
everything.
really helps, by the way. Like when you get stuck and you're in your head, you're beating yourself up. Just go and laugh instead, because then you're getting your cardiovascular workout. You're secreting the love drugs, oxygenating your body, which may give you an idea to, get you out of that funk, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll definitely jump in one of your laughter yoga sessions.
Oh, yes,
It'll be so
do.
ridiculous, but I'll be like, let's just do it.
I
Because
had a whole elementary school come last Tuesday.
no way.
Yeah, can you imagine? So they had me come in twice to do worm workshops. They got funding, so the whole school has seen me. So they knew me as the worm woman. Um, so fun. And then the one class came to my club about a month or so ago. And then when I went in to do the worms the second time, she said, "Oh, the first week of May, we're doing something for mental health every day." And I said, "Wow, yay." So she said, "Could we come to your club?" And I said, "The whole school?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Yes." Oh, how fun. Right. Just like one class would Zoom, like all the classes would Zoom in separately. So, wow. So I said, I kind of made it more for them, but I said, every time I say Woburn Junior, I want you to say, "Yay." So imagine the whole school going, "Yay" at the same time.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, I got great feedback. I mean, the people that came, because I get people from around the world, by the way.
That's so cool.
Last week I had someone from Japan, Mexico, um, of course, Canada and the States. I mean, it's just, it fills me up. Come. Yeah. And bring your lady.
Oh, I wish I could. It's an interesting spot. We're kind of in that friend
Okay.
area zone, but I don't know. Who knows what the future holds? That's something I'm trying to just keep in mind is like there's a scripture like to everything there's a season, time to every purpose under heaven. Like there's time, there's time available, so you don't have to worry about different things. But yeah, she's nannying. She's taking like 15 credits online, so she is busy. And I've kind of put the ball in her court a little bit, like, hey, like, you know how I feel about you, so if you need to talk to somebody, I'm here, but I don't want to like stress you out or anything like that, or have there be any expectation of reaching out to me or anything like that. So yeah, but it is one of those things you just kind of, I mean, there's the quote, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it was meant to be, sort of thing, so, and that's something, it's interesting because in this world, I feel like some things are like, I love this thing so much, I can never let it go. But if there's something better, you need to love it enough to let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, we don't know, right? We just have to be fluid, I guess, just be open to possibilities and visualize what it is that you want. Like you want to be with that woman, then just imagine that you are.
Yeah,
like really.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have a very good imagination, and I have all these journals and different notes. I mean, she wrote me this note like when I graduated. She's just, oh,
Oh,
I just can't like imagine myself not, because it's like my first actual real relationship. Like I'm so picky. Like I'll go on like 2 dates with a girl and I'll be like, all right,
yeah,
you're
not her.
awesome, but I'm not like, I'm an all in or all out kind of person. So it's like yes or heck no, sorry. Like I'm sure you're great, but I'm not going to drag you along or anything like that. But then with her, it was just like fantastic. And she asked me out initially and I wasn't super interested. She's just a really good person. And then it just developed like, holy cow. Yeah, she's amazing. But
Oh, yay. It's so exciting. It's exciting.
yeah. Well, I hope you and Rick have a great rest of your day, and just thank you for your example and what you shared and everything. And we'll be in touch.
I'm glad that we got the second thing recorded. It's so funny. We had a couple of glitches, Zencaster and
Yeah.
All right. Take good care.
You too. See you, Cathy.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.